We are going to have a look at how Nationwide have used MongoDB. So first up, I'm going to introduce you Adam, who's a customer success manager from MongoDB.
Neil.
Or Neil, indeed. It can be Neil or Adam, whoever you want.
Do I just use this one?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys. Can you hear me okay? Yeah? All right, awesome. Well, thanks for joining the talk today. I'm sure you've been learning a lot about MongoDB and everything that we have to offer with the keynotes and all the breakout sessions. Before I introduce the Nationwide team, I kind of just want to give you a quick primer on what Relational Migrator is. But before I start, can I, by show of hands, get an idea as to how many people here have actually tried to migrate a database in the past? We got, oh wow, that's way more than I thought it was going to be. And I'm sure the process was very arduous. There's lots of planning involved, schema design, upgrading your drivers, updating everything. So our product management team, they've come together to try and address some of these challenges that are usually involved with a migration. So the tool is called Relational Migrator. And essentially, the product team came together to try and simplify schemas. And Relational Migrator allows you to design an effective MongoDB schema based off your relational existing schema. It also allows you to migrate that data from a relational database such as Oracle, SQL Server, MySQL, Postgres, and migrate that either to MongoDB Atlas, which is our cloud platform, or on-premise, as well as some code generation and SQL query conversions, which I'll tap into in a few slides. So the first slide, or the first page that you'll come across when using the tool, once you've connected to your source database, in this instance, let's say you've connected to a Postgres database, you'll be given the option to get some schema recommendations. So you can either work off a schema that's suggested by MongoDB, the Relational Migrator tool, or you can start off with a blank slate. Most people will probably use the Relational Migrator recommendation, and you can also quickly apply recommended table mappings into a specific collection in your model as well. So once you're happy with that, and you've clicked through, you'll see a page which shows you your entity relationship model. So on the left-hand side of that of the screen, you'll see the relational database, and on the right-hand side, you have the MongoDB schema. Essentially, you'll use this for mapping out any sort of schema decisions. You can split or merge tables across collections, as well as embedding tables as a nested document or an array in an existing collection. So this is really where you get to play around with your schema and make the amendments that you would like. And so here you'll see the best practices already in play, but you can make the amendments as in how you would like. Once you're happy with your schema, the next part is obviously migrating your data. Relational Migrator actually acts as a tool to help replicate that data from the relational database to MongoDB, like I said, either on-premise or on Atlas. The only thing is you can do it in two ways. You can replicate that data as a once-off or a continuous sync. If you use a once-off snapshot, that does incur downtime, but you can also, if you have a very critical app that needs to have its reads and writes constantly on, then you can do a continuous sync. The tool also simplifies developers' lives. So I've coded my own application in the past and may have used ChatGPT to get some app code generation. But what this tool will do is include some code generation on entity classes, persistence layers, and APIs within supported languages, so whether you're on JavaScript or Java, JSON, etc. So it makes your life a little bit easier, and you can literally just copy and paste it into your application code. And last but not least, this is more of a recent feature with Relational Migrator. It leverages generative AI. essentially, you can import store procedures and embedded SQL queries from your source relational database. And this, with Relational Migrator, it will use generative AI to convert this into MongoDB syntax. And on top of this, you can also create MongoDB queries based on that schema. And that also uses the generative AI piece within the Relational Migrator tool. So this was a very short primer to what Relational Migrator is, and I hope it gives you a little bit context to what Nationwide are going to talk about now. So I'll introduce Neha and Adam, who are going to go through their journey with MongoDB and how they migrated over to MongoDB.
Thanks, Neil. I've got the easy bit today. I'm Adam Bennis. I'm a solution architect at Nationwide. Been there about 4 years, and I guess been part of their cloud journey and also the journey with Mongo. Got Neha with me. She's going to take over and take you all through the good technology. Obviously, her team did all the hard work. So I'll pass over to her for introduction.
Am I audible? Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good to have you all here. I'm Neha Yadav, and I'm working as a lead engineer with Nationwide Building Society and Credit Risk team. I have almost 16 years of experience as a full-stack development engineer and been with Nationwide for around 4 years now. So that's all about me. Thank you so much. Let's move to know a little bit more about Nationwide. As all of us know, Nationwide is a mutual building society, and it is one of the largest building society of the UK. Our members don't just bank with us, they own us. We have over 600 branches, and after yesterday's acquisition with Virgin Money, we now have around 700 branches, and we have a branch promise of keeping them open until the beginning of 2028. We have a history of serving our members for over 100 years now, and the best way to describe us is a good way to bank. As Neil has already told what's Relational Data Migrator and why we have used it, I'll be taking you through the journey. So the objective of the project was basically to upgrade our credit risk application and the whole estate to a modern application, wherein we were trying to mitigate the end of service life, which was the biggest challenge for the society as a whole. During the transition process, the idea was what's the best way to do, where we can land, and we were trying to move from our legacy on-prem solution to a modern cloud-hosted solution. And in that journey, a small part of our application had already been moved to the cloud as a pathfinder. So we were sure that we are moving to the cloud, following the same. However, as we see in the diagram there, we had 3 sections. The leftmost is the consumers. Those are consuming us. The middle one is a pathfinder, which is in the orange lines. And the right side is the on-premise system that we were looking to migrate to the cloud. The on-premise system consists of the SQL database, the .NET-based APIs, and the ETL feeds. And there was a 3-step transition roadmap being planned for the same. The first was we will be upgrading the SQL database to the latest version of it to mitigate the end of service life. And the second step to meet our strategic driver was we will be migrating the database to Mongo database, and we'll uplift the APIs to meet it. And then we will be minimizing the number of ETL feeds in the process. Now, as a challenge, as a technology team, we took up the challenge first to evaluate what's the best way to go closer to our strategic state, which is moving everything to the cloud, wherein all our customer data lies in. And with the customer data, I say lie in is all our consumers, they are mostly cloud hosted, and we wanted to be closer to the estate. So based on the impact assessment, whatever we done, wherein we were trying to follow the 3-state transition steps, but in parallel, we were trying to do a proof of concept, how we can hop over the transition states. So the key challenge that we identified was remodeling the database to simplify the API layer, the data migration from on-premise SQL database to cloud-hosted MongoDB with minimum customer impact, wherein we couldn't have a longer downtime, and neither we can have a continuous migration. That was a challenge. And the short end of service life mitigation timeline. The timeline to move to the newer cluster or modern infrastructure was very short because we were chasing time. That was the biggest challenge. And we were having a parallel track of work here, wherein on one track we were trying to upgrade our database to SQL Server 2017, and the other was we were doing a proof of concept. Now we come to the solution. So as I earlier said, we were working on in a parallel track wherein we were following the way we planned. However, MongoDB team offered us, they can support us with the transition, wherein it would be faster, efficient, and we wouldn't be having to do the data migration manually, which was the biggest task, and redesigning the schema. So it was a time box proof of concept that we took along with the MongoDB team, wherein the scope of the proof of concept was to evaluate relational migrator, how it can speed up the delivery, which could open the window for our future migrations easily. We analyzed the schema in SQL, what we can move, and the volume of data, as well as the stored procedure functions, ETLs, everything, the underlying system. What subset of data can be moved to prove it works for us? And in all this process, the most important, as we identified earlier, which application can be moved, because credit risk is at the heart of Nationwide, and it can impact anything and everything because it is around all the lending processes we do. And also, we identified in the solution how the stored procedures can be moved to the cloud with the aggregation pipeline that Mongo offers. There were, of course, loads of challenges which we faced along with the learnings we had, and MongoDB team worked with us as an extended team to help us improve the product, as in with the feedback we had, and that was really amazing. And also, like Neil had shown us the AI query converter, that was also very handy for us to verify the stored procedures which were written as aggregation pipelines using C# code, and at the end, just before go live, we were able to validate them. So now it comes how we did it. So we did it using a snapshot. As I mentioned earlier, we didn't do a continuous migration. We did it as a single snapshot, wherein we had a downtime, and we planned to have a minimum downtime. And this was the perfect case for us, as our volume of data was less than 1 terabyte. So we used the snapshot version, and our migration approach was basically we took the legacy app offline. None of the data traffic was moving to the legacy database or the apps. For that time period, we ran the snapshot jobs to migrate the data from on-premise to cloud, and then we commissioned the replacement app. Those were the uplifted APIs in the cloud, which were, of course, hosted on our Nationwide Enterprise Cloud, which is on AWS, and our database, the new database was Mongo. And the result, of course, it's a success story. That's why we are here. The project was successfully delivered within the timelines, wherein we migrated the entire Overdraft solution for Nationwide to cloud, database, APIs, everything. And it involved changes in all the components for Overdraft. MongoDB Relational Migrator made the schema simplified. It migrated the data and helped in accelerating the project completion. We didn't spend any time in doing the data migration manually. It was all done by the Relational Migrator tool, and it was verified also with the Relational Migrator tool. So as we see, the schema was simplified from 40 tables to 6 tables. Basically, we moved to 6 collections, which led to better customer experience. The cost avoidance, wherein we avoided multiple transition states. We didn't uplift our SQL database and then move to cloud where we were meant to be. So we directly moved to the cloud, so we saved cost. And we didn't spend any, like it was a cost saving for us not having any development for the data migration, which is again was a cost as well as time save, to be more precise. And the batch feeds were much faster, much efficient, and they were much optimized as well. So the business outcome now, it can process 1 million plus overdraft assessment records in 90 seconds now, which is basically future-proofing our current volume, which we have 50K records around per day at a scale. So, and we consolidated the data model that I mentioned from 40 tables to 6 collections, which is again a very good improvement. We turned off our on-premise instances for overdraft, wherein we reduced the licensing cost and we moved to pay-per-use. We only pay for what we use. And then the business results were definitely we mitigated the end of service life. That was the biggest win. And apart from that, it was reduced management time and cost for legacy estate, faster transition towards a cloud-based solution, scalable solution, which is the target state for the credit risk team, where we are moving to. Reduce time to market, enabling new consuming applications faster, as most of the nationwide applications which are front-facing are moving to cloud. So we are being closer to the same estate. And reduce maintenance and operational cost. We are only paying for what we consume now. So with the success story of overdraft solutions moving to cloud, the next thing that we are doing now is we are moving our other databases to MongoDB, which were on-premise, and we are in process of doing that. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Sorry, folks. Sorry.
I can't hear you, sorry.
Thanks. So you mentioned you moved to MongoDB in the cloud. Does this mean that self-managed Mongo in your cloud, or that means Atlas?
It was Atlas.
Atlas, okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions, folks?
Yeah, probably a question for Mongo. Is there a limit on number of tables on SQL conversion?
I'll have to get back to you on that one. So I'll take your name and email, and I can let you know after if that's okay.
Okay. I'm just wondering if we've got a SQL Oracle database with 1,500 tables.
Right.
Is that going to be a constraint on the schema conversion?
I'm sure there's some sort of performance and tuning that we can do on that piece, but in terms of like the numbers of tables, I'll need to double check for you. Sorry, I'm not entirely sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Hi, great presentation and congratulations on your success. So just wondered if you could talk a little bit about the decision process and mechanics of going from 40 tables down to 6 collections, what that journey looked like.
From 40 to 6, we identified what are the tables and data which can be merged or what we don't use in future. For example, logging databases, we had different mechanism in cloud to log. We don't need the traditional logging mechanism. And there were many tables which were just for processing the data in SQL or keeping the parameters. We don't need them while we were moving to Mongo. So those were the decisions being made with the experience of the team, what we need to take forward to have a like-to-like functionality.
So you'd say because you went like for like that you kind of transposed your table structures after the kind of culling unnecessary tables?
Basically, the business outcome was like-to-like. We didn't disrupt any of the processes that we were having in the past or we have today. But we improved the performance, we improved the schema because we were moving to a cloud-based and a newer infrastructure and modern technology.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
One more question, no problem.
Hi. Did you have any cultural challenges moving from a SQL to a NoSQL database? And if so, how did you handle it internally?
Not really that I'm aware of. I will pass this question to Adam because he is our data solution architect and he's the man.
Thanks. If it's on. I think quite thankfully with the teams that already started on their Mongo journey at Nationwide. A few of them here today had already started building APIs on that platform on I guess, a greenfield piece of technology, so that there was less cultural challenges. I think because Nationwide started about 4 years ago with Mongo, we've always been on Atlas. It's started to permeate the society, which has been pretty easy in terms of this migration for overdrafts. I think if that hadn't happened, yeah, definitely it would have been a cultural challenge. Especially taking that SQL Server estate, I think in past life and past technology at Nationwide, it's been a big challenge to move from something like SQL even to more traditional database rather than MongoDB.
Okay.
Adam.
Any more questions? Okay, so let me get this right. Thank you, Naya, Adam, and Neil. Thanks very much, folks. Well done.
Thank you so much.